What's happening? Mr. Rupert, gonna read you guys a picture book of my old chef, El Jefe, Roy Choi, the street food remix, written by Jacqueline Briggs Martin and June Jolie, illustrated by Man One, right? Street artist Man One, right? Chef Roy Choi and the street food remix, right? It's, Chef Roy was first introduced to me when I was still in the military. My second deployment, the tail end of 2007, all of 2008 and 2009. My wife sent me an article about Roy Choi and his success with the Kogi food truck, right? And the birth or the rise of Twitter at that time. So Chef Roy would tweet, where I'm at, I'll be on the corner, I'll be here, Wilshire Boulevard, I'll be over here by Chavez Ravine, the Dodger Stadium, things like that. I'll be here in DTLA, come hit me up. I'll be in the OC. He would tweet. He had one truck, right? Three chefs. Chef Roy, I think who was the other chef? June. I think his second in command at the time was June. I think that was his name. I could be wrong. And then they had support from another chef driver. I don't remember their names. But this book's about Chef Roy and his importance to his people, to the Koreans and the LAans, and all the people that he connected with and made a difference in their life. So I'll read to you Chef Roy and the street food remix. Here we go. Oh, here's a photo of me and El Jefe at his Vegas restaurant, street bodega. The worst, the worst. But this at his Las Vegas restaurant. It'll come to me. It's been a minute since I've been there. I think this was like pre-pandemic. We went out to go say hello. Well, actually, my wife and my family, we went out for the rock and roll marathon, half marathon. And we stopped by and to go see Chef Diego Echeverra and Chef Roy Choi down in Vegas. I forgot the name of the restaurant. It'll come to me though. When you go to Vegas, Yelp Roy Choi, and then his spot at the MGM will come up, and go support. As he supports the community, he supports his people. So go support Chef Roy, Chef Diego. All right, here we go. So we're up the book. What is this? What do you think this is? What does it look like? Crackers? Rice? Oh, it's ramen. It's ramen. Ramen. Chef Roy and the street food remix. It's a tape, right? It's a cassette tape. We listen to music. We would put cassette tapes in the tape deck. When I was a kid, and you listen to it. See, and it'd be a ribbon. The music is on the ribbon, but this isn't the ribbon for the music. This is noodles, right? Noodles and chopsticks. Bowl of ramen with sliced American cheese on top, right? That's Chef Roy's signature on his ramen. A ramen remix. Make ramen with Chef Roy Choi. Slide an egg into the broth and put on cheese, sesame seeds, and colorful greens. Serve it up. See a smile. Roy says, good food makes smiles, right? Good food makes smiles. It does. Good food makes connections. Yeah. Here we go. Chef Roy Choi can chop an onion in an instant, carve a mouse out of a mushroom. He's cooked in fancy restaurants for rock stars and royalty, but he'd rather cook on a truck, El Toca, the Kogi food truck, right? Chef Joy. Peace, right? Chef Roy with his Dodger cap on. Chef Roy calls himself a street cook. He wants outsiders, lowriders, kids, teens, shufflers, and skateboarders to have Food cooked with care, with love, with sonma. Sonma. Sonma is the flavor in your fingertips. It is the love and cooking talent that Korean mothers and grandmothers mix into their handmade foods, right? Sanman. Sanman. I could be saying, bear with me. Chef Roy Choi was born in Seoul, Korea. His family moved to Los Angeles when Roy was 2. Growing up, Roy loved his mom's food, made the Korean way by hand, and briny and tangy kimchi, spicy bimbap, scallion pancakes studded with oysters. Her kimchi was so special, friends bought it from the truck of her car. So popular, his parents opened a restaurant, Silver Garden. While Roy's parents were busy earning a living, he explored Los Angeles streets where his living room and his kitchen. He tried tamales, tacos, hot dogs, but nothing was tastier than his mom's cooking. You agree? Right? So all the street food, street dogs, tacos in Koreatown and in the Wilshire, on Wilshire Boulevard over there in LA, in the heart of LA. Bibimbap is mixed rice. It is served in a bowl with hot rice topped with flavorful veggies and meats, a fried egg, and chili miso sauce. Kimchi is fermented vegetable, similar to sauerkraut. It is tangy, briny, a little spicy, and it's delicious. Right? It's delicious. Chef Roy as a kid, right? Getting street knowledge from the streets of LA. I'll stand up, okay? It's easier. Show you guys. Again, right? To Roy, the family restaurant was the best good place. All day, Roy's mom and her crew chopped, mixed, and seasoned by hand. Roy loved the bustling kitchen, crowded with banchan. And at 3 p.m., everyone gathered at booth number 1 for dumpling time. So the whole family, right? They're making dumplings for service, for dinner, right? Banchan. Banchan. Are the many shared dishes of kimchi, seasonal vegetables, meats, grilled fish, and stews served alongside personal bowls of rice on a Korean table. Banchan. Family together making food. Roy's best good time, right? When you make food together, your family. It creates food memories and you're making a connection, right? You're putting your hands in food. You're in the moment. You're not thinking about anything else. You're thinking about making food for the family and for others. Take off your aprons and sit down. Spread flour on the table. Peel a wrapper from the stack. Spoon on yummy filling. And fold, fold, fold. Tell stories. Share news. Laugh. Right? Enjoy time together around the table. Right? When you're making food together, or you're eating food together, make sure TV's off, no cell phones. Right? Or maybe a kid sometimes will read a book. So that's okay sometimes, right? So Chef Roy is a teenager. The neighborhood changed. Restaurants closed. Parents' new jewelry business. Big house in the burbs. But to Roy, life was not better. He didn't look like other kids, sing the same songs or eat the same snacks. Where did he fit? Roy was all mixed up. So after the parents' restaurant, they had a jewelry business, right? So the story goes, they moved into the OC and they purchased this home that used to belong to the pitcher Nolan Ryan when he was the Angels. So in the back of the house, I think there was a pitching mound, right? So Nolan Ryan would practice pitching in his backyard. So the story goes, the backyard was set up for a pitcher to train. Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome? But the beauty of that story is around that time when Nolan Ryan was in this neighborhood, it was primarily a white neighborhood, right? So the neighborhood's changing. So now people of color are allowed, the Choi family was allowed to purchase that home. Years before that, maybe 20 years or so before that, people of color weren't even allowed to rent or to buy property in this area, you know. So think about that. So Roy Choice, right? He doesn't fit in, right? Because then it was an affluent neighborhood. So the neighborhood was a lot of upper middle class, right? Wealthy families. So Roy Choi, you know, he's a regular dude. You know what I mean? He he got his he received his education in his early youth from the streets, right? From looking at people that look like him, music where it's similar and it's different, probably in this neighborhood that they moved into. A lot different. The OC a lot different from Koreatown, right? Okay, so when Roy finished school, he didn't know what to do. He walked the streets, found rough places, worn out. He always came back home, where his mom helped him get strong with kimchi, rice, and tofu stew. See, we go back to the city, right? When you're raised in the city, you always feel comfortable there, right? Where it's alive and you're accepted, right? Where everyone uh, is different, but in alike in a sense, right? There's stories shared um, when you grow up in a big city. You know, you don't look alike, and I think that's the beauty of it, of finding your connection through music and culture, right? Through an immigrant's American culture, right? Yeah, look, El Jefe. He's remixing the food. Right? Went to Culinary Institute of America, Hyde Park, New York. Miss Rupert went to Culinary Institute of America, Greystone in St. Helena, California, in the Napa Valley. So when I was at culinary school, people would always tell me about, hey, look up Roy Choi, because I don't know, they see the tats, they see that I'm hip hop, right? That there was an aura about me that those chefs feel when they're with Roy Choi. When Chef Roy Choi would come up to Greystone campus, and then he would, you know, connect with the staff there, and he would talk to the students. So when I lived in LA, my first stop was hit up El Jefe. Let me work for you, chef. You know what I mean? Okay, keep going. One day, as Roy watched a cooking show, he realized where he could fit. I saw myself in the kitchen. I saw myself at home. He went to cooking school and learned teamwork, knife work, sauce work. When he graduated, Roy took jobs at fancy places. He felt just right in his white chef's coat, running the kitchen crew, cooking for the movie stars, cooking for 1,000 eaters a night. All right, high-end chef. Roy was a success until he wasn't. Too tired, he couldn't cook fast enough for all those diners. He forgot recipes, lost his job. Where did Roy fit in now? He didn't know. So I don't know, he got burnt out, right? Maybe he enjoyed fine dining, right? At at high-end restaurants and resorts, but really there was something else. He wasn't able to fully show himself, right? So it's fancy, it's delicate, it's different. It's a different culture in the high-end kitchen than it is um, in eateries that you find in urban places, right? It's different. So the clientele is different. You know what I mean? So the clientele here is for very wealthy people. Okay. But when you're not raised that way, you're not able to really be who you are. So when I was cooking, I'm I would cook in high-end uh, kitchens and restaurants. It just a part of it just didn't feel um, like me, right? But I felt that in Chef Roy's kitchen. Okay, so Chef Roy had to mix it up. He had to remix it. He had to connect with who he is, with his craft, with his passion for food and for cooking for people, right? He felt stuffy wearing the chef coats every single day, right? Chef Roy, he'll put on a chef coat, right? He'll put on the cap if he wants to, but his desire cap, probably a Dodger cap, right? Or a Stussy cap. All right, a street food, different remix. Then a friend said, let's open a taco truck. Put Korean barbecue on in a taco. What? Chefs cook in kitchens, not on trucks. But Roy said, yeah, I'm down. He wanted to remix the taste he loved on the streets that were his home, right? uh, Roy sauce mixed the five tastes: sweet, sour, bitter, salty, savory, with aromatics, dried chili, soy sauce, sesame, lime, and pear are some of the ingredients in Roy's awesome sauce. Right? The flavor of hip hop, too. He used mad chef skills to build flavor and cooked with care with Sonma. He created Los Angeles on a plate, right? So he wanted to represent where he grew up, where he met his roots and where he met his people, LA, right? Korean short ribs, crispy slaw on a corn tortilla with a squirt of Roy's awesome sauce. Sauce. Chef Roy's awesome sauce. Right? Let's check it out. Roy and his friends rolled down the streets of LA in their Kogi barbecue truck, looking for hungry people. Move on, people said. Korean guys can't do tacos, right? No way, right? It was too new, right? The the taco aficionados, the taco specials. They said, no, man, you can't put Korean meat in a taco. It's got to be carne asada, el pollo. It's gotta be pork, right? Al pastor. What's this Korean business, man? Right? So it's too new. It's too new. So Roy kept cooking, right? That's what you do. You just keep cooking inside the truck while his friends hustled outside, finding people to buy their tacos. And when they did, right, Chef Roy, Chef Roy grew up in the marijuana culture, right? So in a sense, he made food in his truck for people in that culture. You know what I'm saying? So late at night, they'd post up and make food. People coming out the clubs, coming out the bars, and then Chef Roy's right there, right? Denny's or Kogi? Uh, what is that? Jack in the Box or Kogi food truck? No brainer, right? We go with Chef Roy. That's my man's in there. So look, right? Different people, and that's good, right? Different's awesome. Okay. Kogi tacos tasted so good, sweet, tangy, so much savory. Eaters ordered more, took pictures to share with friends. So this is, the peak or the early peak of social media. Twitter, Facebook, is before Instagram. Okay. Hustle, sizzle, grill, short ribs, slap the taco down, toss on slaw, squirt Roy's awesome sauce, then out of the window. Happy eating. Next ticket, next taco. Right? Right? Check it out. Roy saw that Kogi food was like good music, bringing people together and making smiles. Strangers talked and laughed as they waited in line. Koreans with Latinos, kids with elders, taggers with geeks, right? Skaters, all types of people, right? Transgender, LGBTQ plus community, right? Punks, you know what I mean? Everyday people. Right? Roy found his place back on the streets, feeding hungry people, cooking up joy. He was home, man. He was living his best good time. Kogi tacos made Roy famous. Kogi trucks showed people that fresh food, full of flavor, chopped, mixed, and seasoned by hand. Right? Banchan, right? Isn't it? Is it soma? Sorry. Soma by hand, right? With love. Didn't need fancy restaurants, right? Went everywhere. Beverly Hills, Culver City, maybe Culver City, maybe not so much Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills folks would come down to Culver City to go see Chef Roy. Well, he put it. He sent it out like, "Hey, I'm over here, South LA, K Town for sure, Hollywood, right? Boyle Heights." So Roy wanted to feed more people in his city. He opened cheerful cafes in worn out neighborhoods. He taught kids to make and sell their own tasty treats, but that wasn't enough. He called on his chef friends to start cooking for everyone. Let's feed those we aren't reaching, right? It's something new. And he came to you, right? He came to you. right? And some might say that Chef Roy made uh, food truck culture glamorous, right? So he blew it up. Before Kogi, a lot of times people there'd be like a stigma to a food truck. They would call it roach coaches, right? Like, ooh, you know, it's just junk food, but it's also just it's easy food, right? Street food, okay. But Chef Roy put his own flavor to it, and he created something very special. Okay, look, I think maybe that's his daughter, Chef Roy. A fast food remix. Chef DP Daniel Patterson Peterson Daniel Peterson right? Answered Roy's call. So the two friends decided to open fast food spots, the hungry neighborhoods, to feed good food, create worthy jobs, and bring smiles. They tested recipes for foldies, crunchies, burgers, and bowls that kids would eat while skateboarding, exploring, or just hanging out. Right? The birth of local. Right? Chef Roy and DP Peters. Right? They made they made their own veggie burger. Okay, so they opened up in the heart of Watts, Oakland. It was just hard to maintain, right? So, but local is a catered food truck. Okay, so Chef Roy still brought it back to the roots, right? Back to the food trucks, right? I told you, Watts, stand up, right? So Watts. They built the first local in Watts, LA, across from Florence Griffith Joyner Elementary School. Okay, and Watts Towers. Roy and DP, okay, wondered, would people care about soulful fast food? Food cooked with son man? Would they walk right past? I don't know. What would they do? Right? It's not meat. So again, he's remixing it. It's like, would it be accepted? Right? And now you see it everywhere. Right? Impossible burgers, Beyond Burgers, plant-based burgers, right? Right? El Jefe. On Local's first day, the line of people wrapped around the corner, just like Kogi, in waiting to try tasty food in a new, best good place. Roy said, I feel like crying, laughing, hugging people, right? And he would give out there would be they would sell mixtapes at Local, t-shirts, hip hop gear. But I remember, there's other restaurants out in San Francisco too. They would sell mixtapes on their counter, right? Uh, and Roy was one of those pioneers. We're here, come through, right? Remember that table of food with family? A neighborhood remix. Chef Roy Choi wants to build more locals, remix neighborhoods everywhere with hope, mad cooking skills, and fresh ingredients. Feel goodness to the world, but sometimes he worries. Can it work? We can help, Roy. Be part of the crew. Street folks, kids, moms, dads, skateboarders, singers, and sillies. Mix new dishes. Share all we can. Cook with sama. Cook with love. The beauty of Chef Roy, he other than his diners, people come and eat his food. He also welcomed his kitchen, like his staff. If you had priors, if you got skill, come through. If you want to learn high-end cooking and maybe Subway is your experience, come through. I'm gonna teach you, right? And that's what Roy Choi did for me and many others in his kitchen, and continues to do so to this day. To make your own awesome sauce, mix what you like: catsup, soy sauce, cilantro, miso. Mix and taste until you find the right perfect balance of sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and savory. You got all that food on there. He's teaching. He's teaching the kids. He's teaching the kids how to cook. It's awesome. The end. Bravo. Author's notes. All right. So there's Jacqueline Briggs Martin. Yeah. We're in the local sweatshirt, and also Juno Jolie, right? Juno Jolie, right? I think I met Juno. Uh, I'm gonna read Juno's real quick. Ryan, okay, let's read all of them. This book is very special to me. First, I am happy to be sharing Roy Choi's story after the Kogi trucks became so popular. Roy could have chosen a path toward fame and wealth. Instead, he chose to cook good food with love. For people who might not be famous or wealthy, sharing good food is the street on the street is sharing care, and that is Chef Roy's path. Second, the process of writing this book with Junjo Lee was a wonderful experience. We read the same articles and books, watched the same interviews. We traveled to Los Angeles to see Koreatown, to eat at Kogi, local, and Roy's other restaurants, A-Frame, as well as experience the diverse culture of the city. What was the other one? Chango. Chego. Junjo Lee generously shared much information about Korean food, as well as many insights into Korean culture, and spoke movingly of the challenges of being a first generation Korean in America. My world has been broadened by working with June, and for that I am grateful. In writing this book together, we were like two cooks making a meal. We each added ingredients, knowledge of culture, thoughts about story, then tasted and changed a bit. We would write, read together, and write again, do more research, write again, read again, until we had what you are now holding. Oh, thank you. Working together, eating together, sharing what we have and what we know. That's Chef Roy's way. That's how we made this book. What a pleasure to share it with you. And thank you. Jacqueline Briggs Martin. Author's notes. Roy and I were both born in 1970. Okay, this is June Jolie. In 1970, Seoul, South Korea. We also started elementary school in California at the same time. Roy and I were able to come to America because of changes to the immigration law in 1965 that allowed more Asians to come to the United States, similar to Roy. I remember feeling like an outsider because I didn't look like the other kids in my class, because I ate strange and stinky foods, says strangers, right? Such as seaweed, dried anchovies, and kimchi. The foods we ate created a fence between us and them. When Roy created the Kogi Korean taco truck, he mixed together the very different and delicious cuisines, Korean and Mexican. This mix of flavors reflects the new America today, trying different foods in a bridge into the many food cultures that makes us collectively American. Roy also mixes in one more essential ingredient, food made with love from one awesome person to another awesome person. This hand touch of food is the power of Roy's hipster and hip hopper, Halmoni and Abuela. Halmoni and Abuela to have access to good food made with care and real flavors. And by remixing flavors, Roy is working hard to reconnect people with each other in homes, streets, and neighborhoods. June Jolie, the illustrated artist, right? Man one. I'm a big fan of Roy Choi's work. I met him years ago while Kogi was taking off. Thanks to him, Kogi was one of the sponsors of my 2009 solo exhibition called Graffiti Spirits. I think we share the same values of using our talents to figure out better ways to help people and make this world a better place, starting with our own backyard of Los Angeles. The first time I did graffiti, I was on a public bus and the kid gave me a marker and said, write something on the window, but not your real name. I was listening to a New York City hip hop group called Mantronics on my headphones, so I decided to write that. Then I decided I needed to do it on the street and show off my art, but the name was too long as a signature. So I used the first three letters, only man. The one got added later because in graffiti culture, that was used to indicate that you were the originator of the name and no one could steal it from you. So I became known as Man One. Excuse me. I didn't know that you could get paid to create art until I was in high school, and that was about the same time I discovered graffiti art. For me, graffiti was not about writing on walls to make them ugly, but instead to make the city beautiful and full of color. Through my art, I am able to express myself and my feelings. It took many steps to create the art of this book. I first spray painted the background onto large canvases. I photographed them afterward, and I loaded the images onto the computer. Then the people and detailed pencil drawings were added digitally. I thought it would be fun to highlight the cooking poems within black stickers that are commonly used in street art. Finally, all the parts were assembled electronically. See the photograph on this page for the tools of the trade: spray tip, sharpie, eraser, and pencil. In this book, I attempted to include as much of the city as I could. Things like palm trees, telephone poles, and wires, old and new buildings, downtown to the beach. I tried to give the viewer a little taste of the unique landscape that exists in LA. I also tried to bring in the different types of people you might meet on any given day: a punk rocker, a skate kid, street vendor, you name it. LA has it. I really love LA. I was born here and have always lived here. I love the diversity of people and immigrants from all parts of the world. It makes this city very rich and unique. All this international culture gives me inspiration to create. The beautiful weather in LA allows me to paint outdoors almost every day of the year. The ocean, the mountains, the buildings, and even the alleys give me constant inspiration. Chef Roy's story, like this city, is another great inspiration. Finding your passion and doing something you love is a great way to teach success. But the real reward comes when you start giving back to your community. There are not enough words to express the happiness that it can bring you. Man one, right? Support your community, right? Start giving back to your community, and then it'll fill your heart. And that's what Chef Roy had to do. Same with Man one, right? Junjo Lee, right? And the support of Jacqueline Briggs Martin, right? Oh, dang, there's more. What's this? Oh, biography. Yeah. So check it out, man. Check it out. Okay. This book's dope. Ramen. Put some cheese on an egg. Chef Roy Choi at the back of the book. Chef Roy Choi. Street food remix. Mr. Rupert. Peace.